Don't worry, I won't dance too much longer. Hey, 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 hey. Hey, everybody. What's happening out there? So it is finally here. It is finally election night. Um, and let's get this up a little bit more. What the hell? Hey, what's up, Lamar? Thanks for joining the stream. So it's election night, and I'm still awake, but it's only 10:31 in California. Gavin Newsom has been declared the winner of the election in California. Who would have thought for a second that Gavin Newsom would win? Huge shock. I'd like to put out an APB. We need a search party. I am calling all Americans need to form a search party. And we need to find the red wave, because the red wave, they told me for sure, 1,000% it was coming. No doubt, 100% chance that the red wave was on the way. By the way, yes, I voted. In case anyone was wondering, I have sticker evidence. But back to the search party. We need to get out. We need to find the red wave, because we were, again, every motherfucker in the world told us that red wave was coming. 538 told us there was a red wave coming. Real Clear Politics told us there was a red wave coming. Rasmussen told us there was a red wave coming. CBS, NBC, ABC, they all told us there was a red wave coming. I am looking for it, and I cannot find it. So if anyone has seen the red wave, if you have a milk carton in your refrigerator, draw a picture of the red wave on it so that your family members can look for it, because we need to find it. I could have sworn it was true. It had to be true. Told me a million times. So, now, are the Democrats going to keep the House? That's still unlikely. But recently you had Fetterman declared the winner in Pennsylvania. And in Pennsylvania, Dr. Oz, I'm sure now, he's only down by like 1.5% at the moment. I'll pull some stuff up here in a minute. But Fetterman was declared the winner just about 7 or 8 minutes ago by ABC. So that is a +1. So at the moment, it's 51-49 at this exact second. I know the way they tally it up on the TV is it's like 47-46 right now, because they have 4 races that they have not yet called. But all these races that they thought that the Republicans were going to win, they haven't. Georgia is going to go to a runoff. I mean, we kind of knew that before. We hoped it wouldn't. We hoped that Warnock was a strong enough candidate and that Herschel Walker was a weak enough candidate to make it not a runoff. But of course, a Libertarian candidate ran. He's got about 2%. And so all he did is all this Libertarian did by running is cost the taxpayers of Georgia more money to run another election in a few weeks. So brilliant fucking move to the Libertarian running there. Let's we're actually going to watch some election coverage here. But in just a second here, I am going to do that. So you guys can hang out with me for as long as you like. Thank you to those joining. Say hello if you're in the chat. Yeah, well, see, and here's our conservative Democrat friend, Tim, right? No, I'm just kidding. He's not. But he kind of is, but he isn't, but he's not. Honestly, yeah, that's all he did. There was no way that this guy was going to win. It's like, oh, I want to be the more reasonable choice. The reasonable choice between what? Between a lunatic and a person who is sensible. I think that third parties have every right to run. But just because you have the right to do something doesn't necessarily mean that you should do it. It doesn't mean that it's the responsible thing to do. It doesn't mean that it makes any sense in the long run. Now, if you're like, hey, you know what, we're going to try to run, and if we can get to 5%, we think when we've been doing polling, we've got a legit shot at maybe getting to 5% so that we can get campaign funds, and then maybe try to get to 6, 7, 8% next time. You know, you're seeing a lot of this with the Forward Party right now. This is the thing that irritates me, is that people like that particular scenario, maybe, but the Libertarian Party continues to run people over and over again, and all they do is get 2 to 4%. Even in 2016, Gary Johnson was only able to get about 3.5% So do they have the right to run? Yes. Does it cost the taxpayers additional dollars to do runoff elections? Yes, that's also true. So now libertarian votes, where will they go? Who will get the libertarian votes? Well, you would think it would go to that those votes would go conservative, right? Like you would say, okay, well, libertarians are gonna vote for the Republican candidate. So on the surface, it doesn't particularly look good, but you also have you also have the dynamic of that not affecting the election. Like that wasn't the way that it worked out in 2020. So a lot of these folks who are voting for the libertarian candidate could be conservatives who are just like, yeah, you know what? Herschel Walker is a fucking lunatic and I'm not fucking voting for that guy. So I'm just going to vote for, I want to vote because I want to perform my civic duty, but I'm going to vote for, the person who best aligns with my values. And I think a lot of people probably fall into that category. I have been a person who has been in that category before. So, it's one of those, it is what it is situations. But again, 538 was wrong. Real Clear Politics was wrong. Rasmussen was wrong. ABC was wrong. NBC was wrong. Fox, of course, was wrong. Now, were they wrong by much? Not by much, and that's where the problem is at. The problem is that they, a lot of the places where Republicans did win, they won by a lot. So this is the current map here, and I'll just continue to kind of talk about this here. This is the current map for Pennsylvania. Again, this has been called. He's just under 50% total. That's actually gone up since I last looked. He's gone from about a 70,000 vote lead when I last looked about 10, 15 minutes ago to now about 106,000 votes. The Libertarian candidate with 1.4%, the Green Party candidate with 28,000 votes, and then the Keystone Party of Pennsylvania with 24,000 votes. I forget which way they lean. I totally forgot. Which way do they lean? They lean positive policy change. You know what? It doesn't matter. Who gives a fuck about the Keystone Party? But let's do this. Go back and look at some comments here in a sec. Go to YouTube. And look at this guy. We should watch this show. Matt Gaetz was on TYT. Are you fucking serious? I hope they did a better job talking to him. Oh my God. I did not know this. I got to fucking watch
Right now,
this.
Representative Matt Gaetz is winning by 21, although the race has not been called yet. And Matt Gaetz joins us now. Welcome, Matt.
Oh, thanks for having me, Cenk. I think ABC News and CNN have both called my race.
Anna looks thrilled. Absolutely thrilled. There were some comments. Forward Party has been hijacked by the Bush era neocons. You're absolutely correct. And the other funny thing is they have no platform. I'm going to talk about them at some point. I just feel refreshed that this is over because we've been working so hard with getting candidates and trying to promote candidates for the last 18 months that we've been doing candidate interviews. Super proud of all the candidates who came on the show today. Not over the last 18 months, not a lot of them won because we have a tendency to focus on candidates who are, trying to flip deep red seats and give them some pub. Natalie James, Chris Jones, they started out strong. They kind of fell off. The races have been called. They're not going to win. Natalie James lost to John Boozman in the Senate race. Chris Jones lost to Sarah Huckabee Sanders in the gubernatorial race there in Arkansas. But they were clearly the better candidate. And it's crazy because people, I talked to a guy today, he told me, oh, things don't look good for you guys. I'm like, so you're saying by you guys, you mean America, right? Because things don't look good for America. If the Republican Party is in control. But he was like, oh no, you guys are crazy too. No, actually not. I want health care. Yeah, I must be a total fucking lunatic. Tim, if you want, put a thumbs up in there. I'll shoot you a link. If you want to jump in. Friend of the program, Tim Poole, Bristol. Let's see what they have to say here. Mikey's on the stream, so I'm going to vape. Sorry if it hurts your ears.
Couldn't have been too easy for them, but sure glad to see the voters come out for me.
All right. So, Representative Gates, if the Republicans win the House tonight, what is your strategy going forward? What will you emphasize in the next term?
I think it's all the eyes. I think it's inflation, immigration, and investigations. And
why are you platforming this tool? I hope they own them. If they do, it'll probably be Anna who owns them. Inflation. What I heard two of the eyes: inflation and investigations. What's your plan, Matt? Specifically, tell me what's your plan for inflation, because I'd love to know how you're going to personally curb a global phenomenon. But it's probably immigration, which is not a problem. It's a problem for him. Doesn't mean it's a problem for us. Maybe the other eye should have been inappropriate sexual relationships. I don't know. Maybe that should have been one of your eyes.
have a mandate now to try to limit spending. I think also people are very concerned about what's happening on the border. And when it comes to the weaponization of this government against our people, folks
Give me an example of what you mean.
want to see the FBI, the Department of Justice, called to heel and called to account. That used to be something that liberals actually stood for.
Oh, so he's talking about the FBI seizing documents from Trump's basement that he didn't return. Interesting.
Civil liberties and stopping the excesses of the politicization of investigations. And
Civil liberties. Aren't you the ones trying to take away abortion rights? Aren't you the ones trying to strip people of their voting rights?
now the Republicans that will be leading the House Judiciary Committee will have that as our central focus.
So, inflation being high, you mentioned it first. Obviously, wages is a very large issue. So, do you think that we should raise the
Of course he should. He wants to lower wages.
minimum wage so that the American people's salaries can keep up with the rising costs of all the goods that they're having to deal with?
So the time when we saw rising wages was really during the Trump presidency. I don't believe that government mandate.
Okay, believe it or not, that's actually true. You started to see a spike in wages in late 2020, but the spike didn't actually really start to hit until summer of 2021. That was when things really started, or actually, it was probably like late summer of 2021. That's when wages really started to go up, and you started getting places like McDonald's that were paying like 17, 18, $19 an hour. And does that have something to do with inflation? Of course it does. Is that a major contributing factor to inflation? No, it is not the major contributing factor to inflation. In fact, thank God that happened, because we would have experienced record inflation anyway, regardless of the fact of whether or not we had increased wages. Because one of the things that Matt doesn't realize is that this particular most inflation, and this particular inflation also, is a global inflation. We have inflation in Canada. We have inflation in Turkey, which, by the way, Erdogan, or however you pronounce his name, right winger, super conservative, like 40 something percent inflation. Ours is at 8. Canada's is at 7. And they're way more liberal than we are. The UK is like 7 or 8%. I believe Italy is at like 11 or something like that, if I recall. You know, we are not leading the world in inflation. But inflation is this inflation that we are seeing, which is caused by supply chain issues, by COVID, by shortages in supply of a lot of goods. I was in Target today. The shelves were very close to bare for a lot of stuff. And then, of course, you have Russia with their ridiculous invasion of Ukraine, their "Make Russia Great Again" campaign. So inflation is global. Wages are not global. Wages are local. So regardless of whether or not we had raised wages, you'd still have the global inflation phenomenon. So you have to therefore react to that locally by increasing wages to keep up with the inflation. And if you do that, you'll push inflation again, nudge it up a little bit higher. But what you're looking for is the delta to decrease between what your average American family is having as a gap right now between what they earn and what they spend. Obviously, you're hoping to earn more than what you spend, right? By a little bit. So maybe right now it's earn, spend, or earn, spend, or earn, spend, or earn, spend, somewhere in that ballpark. You want to see it be earn. Oh, I'm going to spend a little bit more, but look at that delta is closer, right? So you have a little bit more extra income. Just the ice coming out of Anna's eyes is just a thing of beauty. It truly is.
Minimum wages are actually the way to increase real wages. Actually, a lot of economists say that raising the minimum wage can be inflationary. Our strategy to tackle inflation will focus on cutting government spending, not having.
Really, because that hasn't been your history. When Trump spent money like it was water, you were right there cheering him on. Interesting change of heart here, Matt.
A regime that pays people not to work. I think able-bodied, childless adults should be subject to work requirements. Previously, when Republican states have tried to do that, Democrat administrations haven't allowed them to, haven't issued appropriate.
What? That's a new one. I haven't heard that one before.
Waivers. And so if we can legislate work requirements into government funding bills, I think that'll be
that actually sounds an awful lot like socialism. Doesn't it? Yeah, we're going to require you to go to work. First of all, it's not like people are like, yeah, you know what? I have a fucking house and rent. I think I'm just going to sit home today. So what's your work requirement going to be, Matt? Guy gets laid off from his job, or he's in a bad workplace, or whatever the case may be, he or she. And you're like, okay, well, you got 24 hours to get a job, or you're going to pay some sort of tax penalty. So again, the Republican Party trying to tell you what you should and should not do.
A good counter pressure on inflation.
You know what Democrats tell you that you should and should not do? Treat people like people. Like, just don't be a racist prick. Don't be hateful. Don't shoot shit up. Don't stockpile an arsenal in your garage. Republicans want to tell you freedom. Their idea of freedom is a fucking joke. These fucking snowflake fucks.
All right. So raising wages, not what you're planning to do to counter inflation. Got it. Anna.
No, we raise wages. I just don't think the way to raise wages is a government mandated minimum wage increase.
Good.
So how would wages increase out of the
Let me guess. Companies will make more money and they'll pass that down to their employees.
kindness of corporations' hearts, who have a fiduciary responsibility to their shareholders and keep doing corporate stock buybacks and dividends for their shareholders?
No fan of big corporations. I think the biggest threat to our liberty is big government. The second biggest threat, big corporations, and probably the third would be homeowners associations. But I do think that during the
I actually, I am shocked. I agree. Homeowners associations, at least anecdotally speaking, I've never had a good experience with the homeowners association. But anyway,
Trump era, we saw wages rise as a
I'm surprised he didn't say unions. He'll probably get to it.
consequence of capital investment and the onshoring of cash that was largely pushed offshore to preserve intellectual property assets and revenue streams. And if we allowed more of that capital to come back into our country again, I think we would do a lot to see the investment in the workforce. Look, if you go around any district, Republican or Democrat right now, the number one issue for a lot of small businesses is just how to get people to show up to work. And when you have a government,
I think he combs his hair with liquid concrete. I mean, that shit doesn't move at all.
that pays able-bodied people not to work, it really cuts against the ambitions and
Who's paying people not to work?
interests and dreams of a lot of the small businesses that are the backbone of our country.
Okay, can you please be specific about what you're referring to when you say a government that pays people not to work? And be specific in regard to numbers. How much money are Americans allegedly getting paid by the government to sit home and not work?
Well, during the pandemic era,
Okay, that is a great fucking question. And we knew he was going to go back to the pandemic era. But that's not what you just said. You just said this is a current problem. You said this is a problem we need to address. We need to stop it. But your example is going to be from something that is over.
people got checks. And
When there were shutdowns, when companies were shut down, yes.
all of that was inflationary. And I also think that when you provide government benefits to able-bodied childless adults, like Medicaid, like childcare, like transportation, like cell phones, then you create in the economy a bubble. And when that bubble bursts, a lot of working class people, folks that liberals actually used to stand up for, those folks get crushed and hammered when they go to the grocery store, when they go to the gas station. I also think Republicans are going to have a pretty big energy bill. Now, I'm not a drill everywhere, drill anywhere kind of guy. I think we've got to be smart and strategic, but certainly we want to see the Keystone Pipeline reopen. We want to see more of
The Keystone Pipeline is not closed. I'm so sick and fucking tired of people saying that the Keystone Pipeline is closed. It's not. Biden did not shut down the Keystone Pipeline. He canceled the permit on the Keystone Pipeline extension, which wouldn't have even been operational until next year anyway. And the problem that we have is not so much transportation of oil, it is refining of oil. We don't have enough refinery capacity to we can get the oil out of the ground, the crude, and we can get it to the refinery. But if you, it's kind of like, look, if I were to give you 50 bags of popcorn and say I got people coming over in an hour, I need you to pop all 50 bags of these popcorn, and they're 3 minutes each, and I have one microwave. I can't get them all pumped in time because I don't have enough microwaves. And I don't have time to go build a microwave. Now, in this case, I wouldn't build one, I would buy one, right? But like, I don't even have time to go to the store and buy another microwave or 2 more microwaves in order to turn these kernels of corn into popcorn that can be consumed. So the raw kernels of popcorn we have. I have that supply. I don't have the ability to transform it into a usable product. So is there an issue with supply of crude? Yes, there is. But also, let's not forget that in, what was it, April of 2019 or 2020? Trump literally forced OPEC to cut supply because he thought that gas prices being too low were bad for America. They have not since then increased production until very recently. I hope they check them on that.
The fracking and shale development in the interior of the country. And I think that just reducing energy prices will do a great deal to lower inflation because you see those energy prices baked in at every layer of the supply chain.
Well, I think it's a common myth that's repeated over and over again by both the press and the Republican Party. We are the top oil and gas producer in the world.
Correct.
We're also the top exporter of oil and gas.
Right.
Because our natural resources are completely owned by private corporations who get to sell those natural resources to the highest bidder. So if you're actually genuinely concerned about keeping gas prices low at the pump, we could nationalize our oil and gas. Would you be willing to do that?
No,
which we should
I don't know
do.
that the Venezuela energy model is one that the American people are voting for.
Oh, Venezuela again. Here we go again with Venezuela. Like, that's the reason that Venezuela is having issues. We did a video on this already. Sorry. I'm trying to watch my stream over here on my other computer and it keeps timing off so I can look at comments. Because I use StreamYard and it's a shitty fucking app. I won't for long. But anyway.
Okay, so you want to allow corporations to export oil and gas to the highest bidders internationally.
I think we should repeal the Jones Act because you're right, there is production that's up. But as a consequence of the Jones Act, we're not able to actually get that energy to the places that we need it so that there's broad distribution and lower prices. So actually, there's a deregulation answer that I think would unlock lower prices for the American people. Given what we currently produce.
I wanted to just quickly, Cenk, one follow-up, and then I'll let you take over.
Please, don't let them off.
The point that you made about social services like Medicaid, which provides health care to literally the most impoverished people in the country, how exactly do you claim that leads to inflation? I mean, I can explain how the Federal Reserve engaging in quantitative easing, literally printing money and giving it to banks and corporations.
I really hope these people behind him are learning something.
Corporations who then turned around and invested in their own stocks and did dividends and all of that. That definitely led to asset bubbles. Private equity firms buying up entire neighborhoods of single family homes based on the money that was given to them by the Federal Reserve. That led to inflation in the housing market. I want you to explain exactly how Medicaid leads to inflation?
Well, first of all, I agree with you regarding those corporate excesses. I am one of the people on Thomas Massey's bill to audit the Fed for the very reasons you laid out. I think the Fed has become a distribution system for corporate welfare, and that cuts against working class Americans. But when you have people who aren't working, but who are still able to get child care, health care, not as a consequence of being poor or sick or infirm or elderly, but just because of the Medicaid expansion that was ushered in through Obamacare, I think that is inflationary because then people don't have to go out and spend cash and have a real economic exchange for the services that they're receiving, often as a result of government largesse.
So what I've heard so far is that giving people child care, health care, and higher wages is leading to inflation. And you guys are going to try to tackle inflation so that what I'm hearing from you is lower wages, less child care, less health care. That sounds perfectly Republican.
Things. Jake, it's not just the government that can do these things. There are private sector solutions as well. If people
But
make
you
more
just-
money, if the
hold on.
economy is growing at a faster rate.
You just said yourself, first of all, the economy is growing at a very fast rate. Our economy is not shrinking. He just said like 5 minutes ago that government's the biggest problem. Well, he's in government, oddly enough. And second is corporations. So how much worse, Matt, is the government than corporations? Because the governments don't control profits. They tax profits, but they don't control profits. And I'm not against profit as long as it's done ethically. But which is true here, Matt Gaetz? You continuously want to give more freedoms to the people you just said was the second biggest problem that we have in this country. Makes no fucking sense what at all. And the reality is it's the first biggest problem that we have in this country. They just have to run on small government. That's what they have to do. They don't have a choice. That's what they have to do is run on small government.
Like it did under President Trump, then I do think we would be able to achieve those objectives. But government spending is inflationary. That is the central covenant of this election that we're going through, that Republicans are very likely to win across the country. People want to see less government spending. Now, I don't think we ought to cut government spending for disabled people like my mother, for seniors. I don't want to touch Social Security or Medicare, but specifically with the Obamacare Medicaid.
You just said, okay, he's going to go to Obamacare. So predictable.
Expansion, you have able-bodied people who could go to work, but who choose not to, and I don't think we should provide those things.
This is a myth. You have anybody who's able-bodied and doesn't go to work. First of all, does that happen? Sure, you can always find an example, right? But that's not happening in mass. And that in itself really shines a light on an issue with America. If our wages, if someone wakes up in the morning and they say, you know, I can make 17 grand a year from the government to stay home, enjoy my life. I'm just picking that dollar amount out of midair. Or I can go to work and make 25 grand a year. But now I got to go spend all my time and, buy lunches in the middle of the day, spend gas to get there, not be able to do stuff like go to the doctor, stuff like that. And you're comparing like 17,000 and like 25,000. You're like, okay, so what you're really doing is you're saying, I'm going to work for $7,000. And again, I'm not basing these numbers on anything. I'm just picking these numbers out of midair. That tells you that we have a wage problem in this country. And for a country that has you know, the highest GDP in the world, or I think it's second now. That's a problem. Wouldn't you agree, Matt?
Right. So we clearly have a different point of view. We see corporations with record profits continuing to drive prices up. There's exit polling showing that 83% of the voters wanted the government to do something about that. Instead, they have let those corporations gouge us over
All right,
and
I'm
over
tired
again
of
as
this.
Republicans.
I'm tired of watching Matt Gaetz. Let's go to Newsmax. I think they're live. See what they're saying about their red wave.
Highly partisan harassment you would never see against a Democrat or really any member of an establishment administration for the most part. There are two teams in Washington, and Trump has never really belonged to either. So, of course,
Talking about their boy Trump.
We don't have a projection of a winner. North Carolina remains something that Democrats continue to say they can win. I've looked at the
All right, this
data.
is about
You see
4
in
hours
Mecklenburg
back.
County,
Let's
really
go.
recovered from the pandemic. It has fewer people returning to the office than any other city in the country. But nevertheless,
Let's go to
the turnout in New York City is high, and it appears as if it's heavily.
Oh, New York City. So I was looking on Truth Social earlier. You wouldn't believe it. There's literally people on Truth Social saying that they believe the New York governor's race was stolen. They thought New York was going to elect Zeldin or whatever. Oh, it's on the screen. Zeldin. Like, they're like, this is bullshit. Wins the recount. You got to be fucking kidding me. She's winning by 500,000 votes. Everything's stolen.
Really democratic as it always is. That is very disappointing. I'm asking exactly the same question you just asked. How can New Yorkers continue to vote for Democrats when the state is doing so poorly?
Yeah, you wonder how many more people will move out of the
Yeah.
state after this. Actually, talking to a few
And
people
Lee
tonight that
Zeldin
said
is
they
an
will
excellent
be
candidate.
moving
it's
to
just
Florida after this.
it's bad.
Oh, I got to run to Florida. Florida's red as fuck, by the way. Hi, Dan. Yep, no red wave. That's for sure.
But it's just not that. It has to be a disaster
Yeah.
before you lose power in these ridiculous blue states. Dick, go ahead.
What's the disaster in New York? They don't pay the slightest bit of attention to the last 3 years in fucking Texas? You want to talk about a disaster? And he won by more than over Beto. Greg Walker, I believe, last I checked, won by more than what Zeldin lost by in New York. And they actually had a reason to have an issue. How many people died that winter? Like, Texas has been one thing after another. You know, from starting with that to most recently Uvalde.
We lost.
It's just cognitive dissonance.
We
I
lost
sense
New
your
York, and
frustration.
We lost Georgia and so
Thank
on.
you, Betsy.
We won the Florida emigre vote and the Texas emigre vote. These are the ex-New Yorkers who moved, who are now
This guy just looks like a snake.
are voting Republican.
in Florida.
And one of the
Right.
big reasons that the Republicans did so well in Florida was this massive outmigration.
Yeah,
And those who were
300,000
left
people
in
there.
New York,
That's
those
right.
who were left in the old states.
And this miserable state just
Aren't
gets
gonna
bluer and
change.
bluer. Yeah,
Yeah, good point,
that's a
Dick.
good point. Go ahead.
All right, I do want to bring back Pennsylvania Congressman Guy Reschenthaler and former
Then move.
Georgia Congressman Doug Collins, who are at our news desk. Gentlemen, good to see you. What are you guys keeping an eye on tonight? Very sad news that we're covering here with
They all have to wear red ties. Just make sure you know I'm a Republican.
Lee Zeldin, his loss to the governor's
We had
race
such
here.
high hopes for Lee Selden.
We haven't projected
it
that,
yet, but it's
but
being
some
projected
people
in
are
other
projecting
places,
it.
so
So, yeah,
Yeah.
We still have
We'll
a lot
still
of
have a
night
lot
left,
out.
and additionally, this
Yeah.
this is looking like a mixed bag. I mean, remember we started off with the results in Florida. You had Marco Rubio had a blowout. Ron DeSantis had a blowout. Texas just got called for Abbott. So there are places where we're winning. The Ted Budd race early on looked like we were losing. Now it looks like we're going to win the seat. I think that's
They did
already
win
been
that.
called. So it is.
Absolutely, Lindsay. I mean, it was
So they're covering the
huge night
Florida
for
race
Governor Ron DeSantis
instead of the
and for
close
Republicans
races?
here in the state. Also for
The BS and the garbage.
Oh, Carrie Lake. Let's
but
see what
how do
she's
you
saying.
get fair and free elections? You have to fight.
You hold them. Like literally, that's what you do. You hold them. Let's hear what this lunatic has to say.
Americans love Ron DeSantis, but then at the same time,
We
it's
do?
really tight between Mandela Barnes and
Ron Johnson.
Ron Johnson in Wisconsin. I mean, I can't figure out what people want.
Well,
Ron Johnson is hugely unpopular. The fact that he's winning right now is astonishing to me.
I think a very important point that I would make is that when Rick spoke, I thought eloquently about the need for a record of accomplishment.
Yeah.
There is nobody in the Republican Party that can come close to the accomplishments of Donald J. Trump. And those accomplishments are writ large, and they're the reason that
Donald Trump only had accomplishments if you're a conservative. If you're a conservative, you love his accomplishments. If you're not an uber conservative, you probably don't like them. In fact, you probably wouldn't even count them as accomplishments. Just to go along with all the rest of the train wreck that presidency was. These guys are they're all cucks. All these people are cucks for Trump. Like that's what they should have. Not this truckers for Trump. They should have cuckers for Trump. We're all cuckers for Trump.
that you have a strong,
Weak.
viable Republican base. The problem is that Trump had to fight a two-front war. On the one hand, he had to fight the Democrats, and on the other hand, he had to fight the establishment of the Republican Party that was undermining
All
him
right,
at every.
hang on, Dick, just stand by one second. Carrie Lake speaking in Arizona. That election still has not been called yet. It's going to be close.
Don't let them doubt.
No, it's not.
Don't let them put doubt in you. We have a movement. We have a movement and we know it. Did you feel it? Did you feel that movement?
Not
You
looking
know,
good
I
for you,
did a
Carrie.
lot of praying to God. I've been praying to God every day, all day.
Well,
And I
apparently
said
he
to
didn't
him,
help
you
you.
make this victory come whatever way you want. If it comes decisive on election day, then bring it to us that way. If we have to fight through the BS and the garbage, then we will fight through the BS and the garbage.
Maybe God didn't listen to you.
But how do you get fair and free elections?
Well, just
You
ask
have
God.
to fight and win to make them fair and free. And we needed another stark reminder that we have incompetent people
Tony Stark or
running the
Ned?
show in Arizona. Who is ready for a change?
A change
We
to
had
what?
great patriots around this state show up today. It was so amazing. They showed up at the polls early this morning only to be told the election equipment didn't work. 2 minutes into voting, we had people being told, well, you're going to have to put your little ballot over here into another box. Guys,
Here we go.
the fake media back there tried to tell us we were wrong for asking questions about our elections.
Here we go.
Guess what? We are going to win this. We are going to win this. How many of you remember a couple months ago, August 2nd, the primary election? Wasn't that long ago. We came out and they said, oh, wow, they're 10 points down. The fake news was asking us to concede. And we kept climbing. We turned 15 points around and we won by 5 points. I just want you to know it's early. It's very early, and if we have to take this fight through, we will. If it takes hours or days, we will.
Or
but
months.
The great news is every single drop of election ballots that have come
What's
in
the
the last
over-under?
3 drops have shown us.
What's the over-under on the amount of court cases that she's going to engage in?
Up 85%, 87%.
I'm going to put it at 7.5.
7%, 81%.
All coming from Earl's Pump and Munch.
I just want the propagandists back there to know, don't embarrass yourselves. Don't embarrass yourselves.
No, because you've got a monopoly on that right now.
Don't do it again. You've done it too many times. But what I want you to know is that the same movement we had last night at that rally in Prescott, the same movement we had at that rally in Scottsdale, the same movement we had at the rallies we've had before with record people is the same movement we have right this second. Nothing has changed.
Right, because you think a bunch of cucks who are obsessed with MAGA coming to your rallies means that like everyone's going to vote for you.
And
you got the same couple thousand people at all your fucking rallies, lady.
And I want you to know we are going to monitor the ballots.
All right, we have Carrie Lake there
We gotta work on this.
speaking in Arizona. Obviously, giving some harsh words to the media. Obviously, being from the media herself, many people have criticized her on that. But, you know, we were just on set with the Schlaps who said that they're saying good things when they look deep into the polls. And there's still a lot out in Arizona.
Still a lot out, and it's an astonishing.
Where it like in Luzerne County, which
Florida and in states like Texas and Nevada, Arizona, obviously, you know, the 17% Hispanic in terms of the electorate that goes out and votes normally. So, yes, I think what you're finding is that the Republicans did a better job of reaching out to the Hispanic community, talking about the issues that matter to the community, including the economy, including these issues on crime and immigration, and also the woke issues, trying to fight back against gender ideology being taught in schools.
Oh, brother, here we go. Woke. So woke. You know what I heard was woke today? That McDonald's is woke for their Black Panther Happy Meal toys, that they've gone woke. Like, you have a major movie coming out that happens to have black characters. That's a superhero movie. But they're woke. These people are fucking lunatics.
And critical race.
All white people. Oh, and critical race theory, right? There we go. That's the other boogeyman.
Theory. I think that those really stand out. And I think that when, you know, in a few days, when we go into this deeper analysis, this deeper dive, you're going to see that the Hispanic community, especially in states like Florida and in Texas, I think would have helped to make a difference in many of these races.
Those happen to be, well, actually California also. California, Texas, Florida. The Hispanic communities in those towns are not liberal. I mean, they might be majority liberal. I'm not even sure that's true at all in Florida because of the Cuban population there. But they are, just because you're majority liberal doesn't mean that that demographic can be defined as liberal. They'd be defined as a demographic that has a spectrum of political thought. But they're not a monolith. And they're not coming in here to vote Democrat. They usually come in here to vote Republican.
And we saw Ron DeSantis get at least 57.
Oh, and why is that? It's because they're coming from places that, like Venezuela or Cuba, that they actually believe the story that's being told to them that is their government that's the problem, when it's not. That's not to say that, like, Castro wasn't a monster, or that Maduro is not a fucking lunatic. But like they loved Cesar Chavez. The main reason why Venezuela has issues is because of the United States interference. You have to put at least 50% of the blame for what happened in Venezuela on the United States and U.S. corporations. How many embargoes have we put on them? Even the Obama administration did so. They called them a massive threat, I believe it was the words, because they elected an indigenous person instead of one of the elites, the whiter skinned elites who'd been running that country forever, all of whom were dictators, almost all of whom the U.S. gave asylum to in Miami. But then all of a sudden you get one who's says, oh, you know what? I'm socialist, so now you're an enemy of the state. And now we give them no more support, instead we embargo them.
7% of the Hispanic vote there. All right, I'm glad to see that we got you guys a little bit closer together than out here on the desk. Thanks, Matt and Mercy.
Oh, look how unwoke she is. It took her a whole second to pull back. Let's watch that again. I can't tell where this is, so I'm not going to, but she pulled away.
And we'll be right back. Stay tuned. Damage. And this is all the punishment that they're going to get. I mean, that just shocks me.
I mean, where do you think that the blame ultimately goes, Senator? Is it in the polling? Is it in the messaging? Is it that people thought Republicans could fix the economy, but they weren't so sure if they didn't have a president in the White House? I mean, where is the blame going to go?
Well, first off, let's just explore some facts here. Number one, not a single statewide incumbent office holder lost.
Mm-hmm.
Not one. Not one Republican, not one Democrat. And for the Republicans to take the Senate, two of them have to lose.
Yeah.
So no one's lost so far. And for the Senate to go Republican, two folks have to lose.
What do you?
That may happen, but if you look at the rest of the night, it's probably very unlikely it's going to happen. So I'm not sitting here projecting that the Republicans aren't going to win the Senate. I'm saying right now, if you look at how everything else in this country went tonight, I think it's highly unlikely that the Republicans win the Senate. And so I'm just saying that you're right, Aaron.
Poor babies.
This is a reckoning time for Republicans. This was an environment that is a midterm, a president who is barely sentient, and with an economy that's in trouble, a border crisis, a crisis in Europe, an energy crisis, inflation crisis, and Republicans at best picked up a few seats in the House.
Here's a novel idea. Maybe two things. Maybe what Pelosi did with, I hate to give credit to Pelosi, but hey, I'm about the truth here. Maybe, just maybe, pushing these MAGA candidates helped Democrats. Because it's pretty obvious that America's, in general, not a big fan of Trump and his wildlings. And this is an interesting one. Evan McMullin running as an independent, or I don't know what the O party is, but it might be what a local Utah party. Utah has its own. There's a couple states that have like technically they're Democrats, but they're different parties. I'm not sure what the O party is, to be honest with you.
That is not a good night. And that means someone needs to think about where we
How about you stop campaigning on culture wars?
go. I talked before. I think it's about leadership. And I also think it's about not just running a negative campaign about somebody else, but
All right, so this is showing Mandela Barnes winning. How long ago was this? This was an hour and 34 minutes ago. I'm pretty sure that flipped. And look, it says there, Johnson is negative 31,000 votes ahead. Let's zip forward to about an hour ago.
The weird kind of walking off the red carpet as when he was in the Middle East and that type of stuff. Now, if he doesn't run.
If President Biden is suffering from dementia, early senility, or some other health problem. But we do know he had 2 major brain surgeries because of aneurysms. So on this episode, we'll discuss exactly what's going on in the you worked for could be at stake. Conferences in his first year in office.
That on the second page, they admitted that the Department of Justice is doing this because of the Presidential Records Act. So we have the Presidential Records Act, which literally has.
Look at that Trump poster from behind her, man. She's a fangirl. That's like 1987 Trump.
Has no crime, has no penalty.
Did absolutely nothing during Trump, and then as soon as Biden got in the White House, invaded Ukraine. Yeah, that Putin that's just was benefiting so much having Trump in the White House. Just another notch in his belt.
Yeah, in Putin's belt. You fucking knucklehead. You are such a cuck. Oh my God. Like, you don't even see the irony in what you just said. Do they not see it? Or are they cognitively dissonant? Like, you have to be stupid or blatantly lying. Oh my God.
What a pathetic joke. Well, what put him in that chair?
You
that
are,
day? Well,
yeah.
Nothing too serious. Just his intention to implement an insurance policy to destroy Trump if he won the election. And that, of course, is exactly what happened.
Time for search warrants. A group of FBI agents showed up. I opened the door, and a very nice lead agent said, "Mr.
I don't
DeGeneva,
see any
I
election
apologize."
coverage.
Because he is running, and they know that he will crush Biden, Kamala, or Hillary, or any.
I was also very sad to see Doug Flutie hanging out with Herschel Walker. But anyway.
One they put up against him.
It is. I mean, the excuses are just hilarious. The espionage. I mean, nobody loves the country more than Trump. He doesn't even like leaving the United States of America.
Cock. You're a cock.
I mean, he's 77 years old. He plays golf every single day. I mean, it's just, yeah, he's sitting there. He's somehow giving our nuclear secrets to some other country. He's got billions of dollars. I mean, he's got more than $1 billion just in real estate alone. He has some reason that he would need to sell our nuclear codes. I mean, it's so laughable to listen to the amount of BS that they can stir up.
Rob, you nailed it. The problem is he loves America. I realized this about a year ago. You want to understand what's happening in America? Forget.
Yeah, here's why they tell us we hate America. That's why we go out and vote.
Republican and Democrat. There's 2 camps. There's 2 tribes. Do you love America or do you hate America? Are you pro-America or pro-CRT, no borders, chaos, on the streets of.
This is. I wish we taught CRT. Because if we universally taught CRT, We can't, because like it's too high level for anything below at least, you know, the last couple years of high school. And probably for it's probably even too high level for that, or for, you know, the first 4 years of college. But I wish we could find a way to teach CRT. But like they package up like talking about the Black Panther Party as CRT, or talking about Jim Crow as CRT, and Dr. Seuss and Mr. Potato Head. It's all CRT. Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Potato Head is anti-trans, right? So if I say, hey, you know what, we should teach people about our history, and then say this is what we've done to combat this negative history, that would lead a lot of people to say, yeah, you know, what a great country. They realized they did something wrong. They said, hey, we did something wrong. And let's not sweep it under the rug and try to, you know, look at it through the rose-colored goggles. Let's actually have a reckoning. And let's actually teach people about our history so that we can not make the same mistakes again. But no. That's not what we'll do. Scruffy. Sorry, I missed your comment there a few seconds ago. Well, at least the Dems will continue going back to living the poor quality of life with food stamps, low income, Section 8 housing, high taxes, crime, outrageous food and gas prices, clown. Yeah, but that I wish I would have known that was a troll comment before I read it, but your comment is idiotic. So you're assuming that all Democrats are on food stamps. Is that what you're trying to say? You're assuming that Democrats live in low income Section 8 housing? High taxes? Here's an interesting bit of information for you, Chief Scruffy Pants. When Trump cut the corporate tax rate from, don't quote me on the exacts here, I want to say he cut it from 31% to like 24, 25. Okay. It might have been 22. Yeah, I want to say it was 22%. He cut it from like 31 to 22, 23. Biden's like, oh, no. We have to raise the corporate tax rate. He doesn't want to raise it to 31% again. He wants to raise it to like 26%. So that's still less than what it was 5 years ago. So the difference in the amount of tax that the Biden administration wants you to pay if you're a corporation compared to what the Trump administration wants you to pay if you're a corporation is super negligible. They're like an inch away from each other. Outrageous food and gas prices. Those things have nothing to do with the Biden administration. The food prices have to do with supply chain issues. And the gas prices, again, gas is a global marketplace. Tell me what Joe Biden did to raise gas prices in Mexico, Sudan, Saudi Arabia, Canada, New Zealand, Greece, Italy, the United Kingdom. Tell me what Biden did to make those gas prices go up. He didn't do anything to make those gas prices go up. The one who made the gas prices go up was Donald Trump. I know you don't want to hear it. I know you don't like it because you don't care about facts. You only care about your narrative, but you're uneducated and you're uninformed. Trump is the one who told OPEC to stifle their production. Again, I just said this like an hour ago. Trump told them in April of 2019 or 20. I forget the year for whatever reason. He said, we cannot have low gas prices. This was his quote. Low gas prices are bad for America. I want you guys to stop production. And he pressured them into doing it. So the reason why they started coming up in the first place was specifically due to Donald Trump. And you can fact check me on that, clown. Give me your fucking bullshit. It's fucking ridiculous how unfucking informed Republican voters are. You want to sit here and characterize Democrats as living on food stamps, low-income Section 8 housing? Does this look like a Section 8 fucking house to you, you stupid fuck? Do Section 8 housings have thousands of fucking toys for their kids? No, you dumb fuck. Guarantee you I make more fucking money than you do. Jesus Christ. These people are fucking lunatics. No argument whatsoever. Always fucking culture war bullshit. With dog whistles built into it. Poor quality of life. Wages are up, you stupid shit. The unemployment rate, the real unemployment rate right now, based on what is it? I'm trying to remember what the fucking name of it is. The UI 6, I believe it is, which is to me not the best measure, but the one that they use. It's like 3.7%. Trump was sucking his own dick when it fell to 4%. But now it's at 3.7. Do you want that to go up? You fucking dishonest hack. Thanks for the view, stupid ass.
America. That's the division. He loves America, and so do 74 million people. And I think after this raid, which isn't a raid, it is state-sanctioned burglary, I think that 74 million
one
is
cares
probably
about this.
pushing 100 million.
Sebastian Gorka, good to see you, sir.
Thanks,
Thank
buddy.
you so much.
I want to watch election coverage. They're not talking about that. I'll probably sign off here in a minute. See what these lunatics, if they're alive. Yeah, they are. See if they're talking politics or religion or both.
Father God, I'm asking you for the spirit of wisdom and revelation. This comes from the Apostle Paul. And so we began to study not just the scriptures.
For all our viewers asking where One America News is heading in the future, we would like to introduce you to OAN.
Headed for the unemployment line. Yeah, they don't have anything going on right now. Okay. So We'll see you tomorrow. I'm going to head out of here. So let's see. If I had any followers I wanted to mention. All right, guys, I'll see you later. See you tomorrow.